Of course, in studio, we do have our advocate, Lawrence Obonyo. We're talking about divorce, marriages, separation, why you cannot go your separate ways mutually. What does that even mean? Now, there's a petition that was filed by Coupler Attorneys and Consultancy, Justice Lawrence Mugambi, and had been asked to declare that couples could dissolve their marriage through mutual consent. Sorry, that couples could dissolve their marriages through mutual consent without fulfilling any of the grounds for divorce stipulated in the Marriage Act 2014.
Yes.
But then this petition was dismissed.
Yes.
Okay, so let us start with.
Excuse me. So sorry.
No, I think we're gonna do something. I think our studio is yeah, it's a bit cold.
My apologies.
Yeah, we do apologize for that. We're getting you warm water.
No problem. Thank you so much.
So, with this, when it says that couples can dissolve their marriages through mutual consent,
Yes.
what does that even mean? Dissolving a marriage through mutual consent. And if this were to be approved,
Yes.
does it mean that I would wake up and then just tell my partner, I don't feel like being in this marriage anymore, and walk away?
Good morning once again.
Good morning.
You so very much for the question. Dissolution of a marriage through mutual consent basically means that you don't have to fight it out in court.
Okay.
What you have to do is have a form that is signed, and then you just tell your partner or you tell your partner that you can sign here, and then we can file it with the registrar that now we are dissolving our marriage by mutual consent. This is not allowed in most jurisdictions, including Kenya. But again, in other advanced jurisdictions in terms of societal structures, it is allowed. For instance, in the US, that's what they do. Someone says that I'm no longer interested in the marriage. You ask your attorney to prepare the documents, and then you just sign and then give your partner to also sign. That signifies the end of that union.
Isn't that a good thing? No drama.
It would have signified a good thing if you look at it from a certain perspective. You know, at the end of the day, a society is very subjective. A society is subject to its own moral values and everything. You find that in such societies, research shows that marriage is not held to high regards the same way it is in other societies that allow you to fight it out, permit you or force you to fight it out. The reason why you fight it out is based on why do people come together in the first place? What kind of marriages do we have? What is the guiding factor behind every marriage? You see, in certain society, you have civil unions.
Yeah.
You have marriages that can be celebrated in the wee hours of the night. You have marriages that can be celebrated in the absence of witnesses. You have marriages that can be celebrated and signed upon by different individuals who've even sometimes downloaded their permits from the internet. But in this jurisdiction, it is very strict. So this is why it brings us the question of can we consent, or do we have to fight it out? For a long time, we have to fight it out.
When you say fight it out, what does that look like? Does that mean that there's room to even get things back together in our union, or fight it out in terms of, like, we're just not making it easy for you to get out of this marriage?
Getting in is easy, but not easy per se, because you have to fulfill certain requirements. You have to have confirmed that you're not currently in another marriage, because that will constitute bigamy. Like, let's say my brother here has already has already contracted a marriage that has already been registered as in the registry, and it's not within the regime that allows you to have another wife. Then if he goes and contracts another marriage, then he is liable for a criminal offense in the penal code, which is called bigamy. And such offenses can get him up to 3 to 5 years in jail if found guilty. So
I like this.
but there's a rider.
What is the rider there?
If you got married and registered your marriage in the regime that allows polygamy, for instance, Sharia law or Mohammedan law, then you're allowed the 4.
Yes.
But they all have to be registered. If you got married in a customary marriage, that has to be registered, and then you would be allowed to register the subsequent ones. Otherwise, you would be committing bigamy. Hii nchi mbao tuko.
Okay, so for Salim,
sheria zetu.
So for Salim,
yes.
Whose culture allows him, right?
Yes.
To have 4 wives.
Yes.
So meaning for the first one,
yes,
he should have registered that.
All of them he has to register.
And the second one that he wanted to get a second one.
Correct.
He should have registered that as well. And the consecutive ones.
Yes, but there's a condition here in registration. You cannot register that today he's married to, for instance, just for argument's sake, Halima.
Yes.
And then you register that under the Islamic Sharia law, and then you go the next day you marry Christine, and you marry you do it in the African Christian marriage. That one is illegal. That one is bigamy. You have to be compliant with your
so he cannot move from his culture to this other culture.
Yeah, you cannot mix and match.
Jamani,
hiyo ieleze tena vizuri.
Wamepatikana.
Achana na kupatikana. Hapa paeleze vizuri kwa sababu naona kama Salim anaweza jipata pabaya.
Sasa kile tunasema ni hivi. Hauwezi kuchanganya. Wajua hauchanganyi wasema mafuta na maji. Havichanganyiki. Ukiamua ya kuwa wewe dini yako
kwa kadhi huku
ni huku kwa kadhi, usibanduke kwa kadhi.
Ni uende na hiyo line.
Uende na hiyo line na uwe na pia unatimiza vigezo vyote ambavyo vinahitajika, na wawe 4, wasizidi 4 kulingana na Qur'an takatifu.
4 tayari pia ni shida.
Unapata
ni dhambi hiyo kwanza.
Dhambi kabla ikuwe hatia.
Na huku tena hapana kabisa.
Sasa pale ambapo unataka kuchanganya unampata huyu yuko na Jen upande huu na upande huu mwingine ameenda akamchukua Bi Fatima.
Ndio.
Unapata hapo sasa tayari ni
kumbe
hatia.
Ni kizungumkuti.
Hauwezi kufanya hivyo. So
ukiamua ni customary traditionally, unaenda na line ya traditional. So there you can take as many as you want.
Yes, and the Marriage Act gives you this condition that you have to register the marriage. Si ile eti ya kuwa huyu amekuwa registered wa kwanza, wa pili wa tatu hawaja kuwa registered, wa 4 wamekuwa registered. No, that one is not proper.
I think the traditional way
you must register, and the moment you register that I'm in this regime, you have to declare whether you're married or not married.
Sasa ile ya Salim kwa sababu hii yake ya kwanza ilikuwa kadhi.
Ndio.
Na sasa hii ameona kabisa lazima aende huku kuingia, arudi huku kwa traditional affair. Afanyeje sasa?
A streamline ama a regularize. Wajua regularization inamaanisha lazima uende udeclare kule ya kuwa hivi ndivyo tunataka kuichukua, na kama unaomba ya kuwa the other one to be cancelled. Sababu kumbuka nimekuambia bigamy ambao ni makosa ya kisheria itakupata pale ambapo utakuwa umejipata ya kuwa mguu mmoja uko upande huu, mguu mmoja uko upande huu. Sijui kama napatana. You cannot have your cake and eat it.
You cannot have your cake and eat it, Gona.
Mbona wewe unasaidia wewe?
Tulia ngoja. Unajua tunasaidia Salim. Mimi ni on a serious note tunasaidia Salim. Sasa Salim anataka kuoa lakini anataka kuwa Mkatoliki. Sasa hapa afanyeje huyu Salim? Maana naona tu anaharakisha mambo na anaweza jipata pabaya.
Sasa Salim Muislamu anataka kumuoa Mkatoliki. Lazima waamue ndoa yao itasajiliwa upande upi?
Kwa attorney haiendi.
Sasa wajua hata ukienda kuisajili kule kwa civil kwa marriages kule, lazima uamue ni ipi. Kama mnaenda ya kuwa yenu inakuwa Kiislamu, itaenda Kiislamu. Ukioa African Christian marriage ni hivyo. Lakini hatutasema ati leo mmeenda mkafanya nikaa huku kisha mkarudi huku mkaregister. Unanipata?
Basi shikwa tabu.
Ya kwanza ilikuwa nikaa. Sasa hii ya pili. Kwa hiyo huyu Mkatoliki lazima arudi kule sasa.
Lazima mmoja ampatie mwingine nafasi. One must consent.
Nani huyo sasa?
So meaning somebody has to slimu.
Shikwa tabu.
What? I'm the Catholic here.
Yes.
I'm not the one.
I'm not you are Miriam.
Yes.
Miriam na Mariamu.
One of you have to sit like hawezi kuwa ya kuwa yeye yuko na cheti cha usajili wa ndoa ambacho kinasema African Christian marriage, majina ni yenu mawili, na wewe uko na yako ya Mohammedan ambayo inasema majina yale.
Lawrence.
Yes, please.
Now, when we this is I like this conversation. Now there are people who, so maybe there's a first wife.
Yes.
Okay? And then I'm looking at the this other culture.
Polygamous.
Yes. Forget the polygamous one. Now the Christian,
African Christian.
The African,
marriage.
yes.
Yes.
So there's a first wife.
Yeah.
And then this person also ends up having a second wife,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
What happens in this situation? Now, all these marriages, let's say the first marriage, we did come, we stay, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not registered. We don't have those certificates to show that you're my husband and I'm your wife. But then this person also ends up getting another person. What happens in our society is that tunasikianga there's another one wapi. And this person also has how many kids? Okay? So you just know there's is it co-wife? There's a co-wife somewhere,
yes.
right? Na wewe uko huku.
Yeah.
This situation, in terms of dissolving, what's happening? Is this even a marriage? What is this?
What I'll tell you first is that first of all, there's that joke that it is during funerals that you know how legends lived. But it's an African joke and it's a Kenyan joke that most times it has a negative connotation. That is when people come out of the woodworks. So at a burial is when say, oh, I was the wife, I was this and this. But talk about your scenario where you're saying someone else was married, but the marriage was not registered.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
There are certain thresholds that have to be met. You know, come we stay, as we call it, is not sufficient. It's not, when you live with someone, when you have children with someone, it is not a sufficient ground that it's a marriage.
It is.
Yes.
If we've lived in the same house for 1 year, 2 years, 5 years,
it is not a sufficient ground.
Mlisema 6 months jamani.
It is not a sufficient. Wajua kuna kile brother watu huwa wanasema huku wanachukua, wajua ile story ya chura ambaye alikuwa anapewa maagizo lakini kabla afike mwisho wa maagizo yeye asharuka na ile. You must go through the entire process. 6 months hiyo watu wanasema hivi na hivi, that is not legal. Ni maneno tu.
So what's the legal way?
You see, living with someone, right now the law says when you live with someone for a certain period of time, you need to register the same as a marriage. Register.
Yeah.
Remember, hiyo ni tick, umeweka registration.
Yes.
So let's say we've lived for argument's sake for 6 months, conducting ourselves as husband and wife. Child or no child, we have an opportunity to go register that, because that's what we mutually agree to do. On the other hand, someone has lived with another person for 10 years. There's no registration, there's no nothing.
Yes.
So this is when you give the courts a difficult time, because you, who is trying to claim there was a marriage, you have to make an application for the court to give what is called a presumption of marriage.
Presumption.
Presumption.
Tuna presume kwamba kulikuwa na ndoa.
Ya kuwa mlikuwa mnaishi pamoja, mmepata watoto 9, mmekuwa mkiambia majirani. You see, when you move the court, you have to prove. He who alleges must prove.
Yeah.
So we've seen in those earlier cases, there's a very famous case, I think it was Ugandan, for a lady called Hortensia Wanjiko Yawe. She had to bring in the neighbors, she had to bring in the shopkeeper to show that huyu akienda alikuwa anasema mpe mke wangu kile anataka, nitakuja kulipa. Majirani alikuwa ana introduce huyu ni mke wangu. Remember, they had lived for a long time, no registration, no nothing, and this was in the earlier years. I think it was before 2000. It was so far back. So they still had to go through a legal process for her to prove that she is a wife. You understand?
Yeah.
Kwa sababu ya wadaku.
Hawa wadaku watakusaidia siku moja.
They will help you.
Then
Yeah.
now back to what he was talking about, this presumption, you live with someone for 6 months and you think that that's a marriage, you can go chest thump. No. You will fail terribly, because even for the customary ones that were not registered, there are certain customary traditions and practices that have to be met. That is why nowadays people talk so much about the Luos, Nyombo, the Kikuyus, Rurasho, everyone.
The Mijikendas ni what? Malos, yes.
Yes, the Kalenjin Koito. Yes. So, you know, this is the normal procedure, even if you're not registered, but there's a certain traditional customary practice that has taken place that can show that indeed a marriage was contemplated or was celebrated between these two persons.
Okay, so the Nyombo, the Rasho, that can confirm that this is my husband.
Correct.
And with that, do we don't even need to go register, do we? No?
You have to register. If you don't, then this can be your fallback, can be your backup.
Oh, so I can use this as reference to I was married to this person. So Rurasho and Nyombo is very important.
Correct.
Kwa hiyo hapo ni picha ikifikia huko.
Wewe wasema picha, lakini zaidi ya picha, ukiwa umeshuhudia practices hizi, utakuja kupata ya kuwa kuna hata agreement huwa inaandikishwa. Wanasema huyu atatoa ng'ombe fulani, huyu ataishi hivi. You know, they have something that may be informal, but it will help you because it is already contractually binding.
Okay, so in this instance where it's now the tradition, and we're looking at somebody, so you've...
I haven't answered your question. I'll come back to it, yes?
Yes, please come back. I think it's because I'm also... Can somebody have this traditional marriages with more than one person?
Yes.
More than one woman?
Yes. It's allowed.
So somebody can take me for Nyombo.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then when we're done, next year, he can bring another person
Nyombo.
for Nyombo.
Yes. Because...
Hautaki.
Because even when you go for what we... Let's say today a client comes to me and says, not NHIF, but SHA, they want something to prove that we are married, but we are not, we don't have a marriage certificate. We do that a lot for people. It used to be NHIF. For benefit purposes, you need to add a beneficiary.
Yes.
You do what we call an affidavit of marriage. So in that affidavit of marriage, how do we say that in the affidavit that you remember, an affidavit is an oath that you're taking.
Yes.
So in the oath taking, how do we say that you are bound to this person? It is not by the mere fact that you've been living together. It's not by the mere fact that you have a child. That is not enough. Or children, because the court, there's a court, Justice Asenath Ongeri dealt with something that a lady who had more than 5 children was still not given the presumption of marriage because she was told that is not enough
to prove.
Yes. Wajua watoto wa 5 ni zaidi ya miaka mingapi?
Ni miaka mingi.
It's a lot of years.
Yes. But the threshold was not met because they never approached the court in the right way of trying to prove other things. You cannot just show children, because children, that's a whole different topic for another day. But the children do not prove marriage. living together for a certain period of time
Does
or a
not.
lengthy period of time does not prove marriage. Yes.
Now,
It may prove intention, but does not prove marriage. So this is why, to answer your question, when your customs, because we know almost all African customs allow for polygamy. When you come to us, you want to swear that affidavit and you say that you are married under the Pocomo customary customs, and we have been living together for a period of more than 2 years, then that any entity will take it, because you have stated the background or the formation of your marriage, which is Pocomo customary tradition. Then someone may go further, ask that under that Pocomo customary tradition, did you do an introduction? Do your parents know the other side and all that? So that will help you in the other long run.
Yeah.
So to answer your last question, one can have many, because in this African traditions and customs, we know very well that they allow up to date for a man to have multiple wives.
Yeah.
And you see, if a man opts to make an honest lady of someone's daughter, then they do the introduction. So it is not strange for someone to do Njombo this year, next year another one. You don't know how he's organized himself by telling them you're number 1, you're number 2, number 3. You see, like in Islam, I may be corrected, but I know very well that before you go get another wife, your first one should know. Your second one, your first and second should know when you're going to get a third
one.
Kuna mtu nashuku ameoa nchi jirani na hapa yuko na mke. Hiyo yao. Hiyo nayo inaruhusiwa kweli? Maana sijafuatilia nikajua kama yule wa kule nchi jirani kama iliandikishwa, lakini
nasi ni nchi tofauti.
Hata kama ni nchi tofauti, mtu ni yule.
Tanzania na Uganda. I mean Tanzania na Kenya. It's total different countries.
Ndugu yangu, kama unaishi lunga pale kwa boda, huwezi niambia utakimbia upande ule uko na familia nyingine, unarudi upande uko na familia nyingine. Ni hatia, brother.
So does he need to register, the person Gona is talking about? Does this person need to register the marriage in Tanzania?
Yes.
Huko.
There's what we call resealing and notification. Watu wakioana hapa, wameenda Ujerumani, ama wameoana Ujerumani na wamerudi hapa. Even these foreigners that we see around, when they get married, they have to actually give a notification for the same to be registered here. There's a provision in law that allows for that.
Yeah.
Yes, so that you got married here, you're moving to Belgium, you're moving to the UK, you take the marriage certificate here through the foreign affairs office and the Attorney General's office. They do that resealing, and then the documents are taken to the other jurisdiction to notify that you are married in Kenya. The same way hata kama umeoa Tanzania.
Yani nataka swali langu ni hili.
Umeoa Tanzania.
Yani hapa.
Lakini
naomba
finish. Wacha
hajakwambia.
Ile cheti cha ndoa ambacho kiko Tanzania, unakileta hapa, unapeleka pale kwa foreign affairs, wanaisil, alafu wataweka kwa register ya Kenya kwa wewe umeoa lakini katika jurisdiction nyingine. Sasa itajulikana hapa wewe umeoa.
Sasa ndo nasema hivi. Mathalan mimi hapa Barisa sasa niko na mke Tanzania. Tumeregister Tanzania.
Ndiyo.
Na huyo mke hana hata shughuli ya kuja Kenya.
Ndiyo.
Si registry na soma TZ.
Ndiyo.
Anabaki Tanzania. Na huku Kenya nina mke na nimeregister huku Kenya. Huyu hana haja ya kwenda Tanzania. Tunaishi Kenya. Wakati wangu mimi at my own comfort, I can go to Tanzania. Huyo yuko huko na nirudi huko. Hapo kuna hatia.
You are a criminal. You're committing bigamy.
Yes.
Kwa nini hutaki kujulikana katika nchi fulani?
Sini anyway, swali lengine. Now that tumesema hizi vitu haziingiani. Ukiamua ni kwa kadhi ni kwa kadhi. Ukiamua ni huku kwa Kristo ni Kristo.
Kabisa.
Now kwa hapa kwa tradition hapa
ndio
kuna nyombo alafu kuna malozi, kuna hiyo nyingine rurasho
koito
hiyo.
Yes.
So naweza niamue rurasho halafu nikimalizana na rurasho niende nyombo.
Yes.
Inaweza?
Waweza?
Basi. Hallelujah.
Lakini zote utajua ya kuwa
ni haina shida.
So let's, you know what? I like that breakdown.
He's really trying to get a loophole out of it.
Yes.
But remember, these are thank you so much. These are foundational procedures for you to actually lay basis for registration of a marriage. Sasa wewe ukiwa umetoka Kalenjinland, umetoka kufanya koito, ukaenda ukafanya nyingine tena, umeenda katika tradition nyingine, ultimately ili uwe safe na familia yako iwe safe, most, you know, in our society this aspect of safety of marriage is construed as against women. Unajua wale ndio kina dada ndio mostly wanataka ikue registered because they are the ones that mostly, and it's a societal thing,
how?
They stand a higher risk of losing so much in the event of misdirection, cheating or misinformation.
Cheating pia ni
katika ndoa.
In fact, Lawrence, you're breaking down a lot of things, and I want us to look at why it's actually important to register the marriage.
Good.
Yeah. So that we may know. I mean, you've talked about funerals.
Yes.
Yeah. I see Gwen and I'm thinking, what are you doing here? And then Gwen's like, this is how. So now we're both trying to connect certain dots, right?
Yes.
Why is it important to register a marriage before we get into now separation?
Registration of marriage helps in a lot of things. A lot. Number one, remember the rights of a person in a marriage and the offsprings of that marriage are solidified once the union is actually defined. Number two, it helps in because it's a vow and it's a contractual obligation to ward off any intrusion into that marriage. Societal and in terms of morality, it also helps us to have that guideline so that you have a right over the other person has a right over you, so that you can actually become one better unit. You see, when you go into most of these unions, they talk about two becoming one. So the two becoming one helps us even, in other jurisdiction, it helps you reduce taxes. Like I know in Germany, when you're married, you pay less taxes than a single person.
Oh.
Did you know that?
No.
Yes. You find that in certain societies, it is enticing to get married because you get certain tax reliefs. Germany being an example, I can speak out of authority. So, in our society, how does it help? Even it has so many benefits, so I may just highlight some.
Yeah.
You have even the protection that one partner cannot testify against the other.
Oh.
You have the marital privilege that is there.
When you mean I can't, if my partner is involved in a court case, I cannot testify against him?
Based on the privilege, if even told you something that would incriminate him, you cannot testify against him unless it is the two of you against each other. Let's say he's been picked up by DCI, God forbid, and your partners, and they want to flip you to testify against. It's not allowed.
Okay.
Yeah, so that one is a basic principle that is all out there. Then the other aspect is the unity of two people is the foundation of how a society grows. You see how the stigma around children who are born out of wedlock. You see how troublesome it is as at the point of death of someone, especially in proprietary rights, even pre our 2010 constitution, especially for women in the event that their marriage is not there. But now we are getting that the boy child is also starting to suffer, because you've seen the cases of Wamboyo Tieno, you've seen these other cases that have erupted, where a man is also trying to solidify that I have a right that is emanating from this and this. Most of it, most people will look at it from a proprietary perspective, that everything that has been made when two people are together is supposed to be matrimonial property. Pause. Nasikia mmenyamaza kidogo.
Yeah. Everything that has been made when we are together.
Yes.
It's matrimonial property.
Whether it's registered in one person or jointly.
When we are together.
Yes.
Not before.
Not before.
Okay.
Ni sawa.
Hiyo ni sawa.
Yeah.
Natafuta mali kabla.
Yes.
So, hata kama ni gari umechukua na ukaregister gari kwa jina lako. The other party has a right to ask that the same be registered as matrimonial property for the purposes of division.
What do you mean?
Ndio hiyo ulikuwa hujaielewa.
Kwani ulikuwa hujapata?
What do you mean they have a right?
You come here to work at the radio station and
Yes.
you do your projects and everything.
Yes.
And your partner may or may not match what you're doing.
Yes.
But anything that is registered in your name during the penance of your marriage forms what we call, from the face value, it forms what we call matrimonial property. So at the point of division, at the point of separation, this has to be considered before we go to how much did you contribute to it. And remember, the act says that even companionship is contribution.
Oh.
Yes.
So nothing is really yours.
During the pendency of their marriage, nothing is really yours. Remember, this person gives you the peace of mind, the security, the love, the warmth of companionship for you to go make what you're making.
Now you get it when I tell you siwezi tafutana tu na mtu hivi.
So I'm trying to understand this.
Uta understand tu.
Pole tu.
Okay, so now
I'll tell you, this was actually meant to safeguard and protect most people who are in a marriage and or in a union and offer non-monetary, non-direct support. Because there are so many people who will be here. I'll tell my wife, go baby girl, go, you go get it.
Yeah.
And then when they're stressed, they come relieve their stress, and then I tell them, you can do this, that encouragement and everything. And it goes further. When people bear up children for other people, they cook for them, they wash their clothes. You see, there's the power dynamics that are not there in our society. There are women who are not the same footing as men.
yeah.
But they are the pillar of those men. Behind that man, there's a very supportive woman.
Yeah.
And the same applies for men, for women. There are women who are career-wise, they're moving ahead. You've seen, we have governors, we have leaders of industry, we have so many other women who are out there. But their partners play a silent and shadowy role behind them being who they are.
Yeah.
These people don't do that just that one day someone wakes up and says, the bank account is in my name, the car is in my name, the house is in my name, the title is in my name, and then someone walks away. No.
So it protects you.
It protects the other person.
And you're protected only when you register this marriage. Is
yes, so that you avoid this aspect of moving the court for presumption and all that.
it? Okay. So I want to take you back to so now we've determined that we're in a marriage, we're in a union, but
Yes.
then we also decide now we want to go separate ways because it's not working one way or
Yes.
the other.
Yes.
And according to this petition that was dismissed,
Yes.
you're not allowed to dissolve marriage through mutual consent.
Yes.
So how then do people dissolve? You said conflict has to be there. What kind of conflict? Like, what's the process of dissolving a marriage, and how long does it take?
There's a threshold that has been put in the act itself that you have to meet certain threshold for that marriage to be dissolved. One, you have to prove the conditions and the warmth of the marriage is no longer there.
Okay.
For instance, it's a morning show, so we can speak freely. Yeah? There are no conjugals in the marriage.
Yeah.
You have to prove that there's an aspect of even if it's desertion, cruelty, and things like that, you have to actually put it there. You have to say, it's not enough for you to say, we're no longer feeling each other, the chemistry is no longer there.
So you have to prove that
You have to.
that chemistry is not there.
It's no longer there. And you see, you won't have conjugals if there are no chemistry. If the the bedroom has become cold and all that. So you have to actually outline this for even the judicial officer to consider whether a marriage is fit for dissolution or not.
Yeah.
But because if you look at that decision that you've just referenced, there's that aspect where they've said that we're looking at the moral fiber of the society. They're looking at the sanctity of marriage so that a marriage does not become an institution that people walk in and out of at will. That today I've been smitten by someone else, I want to divorce my wife so that I can go have fun with someone else, and then I want to do this and that. So they're protecting the moral fiber of the society so that we don't have someone walking around with 10 failed marriages under their belt and they're yet to even hit 60. And then they want to contract another one. What is it showing to the upcoming generation? What does it say about our society? So that is what the learned judge said, that the moral fiber of the society has to be protected and safeguarded. Remember, we come within the backdrop of a religious foundation of most of our laws.
Yeah.
And in religion, they have also to go through the processes. Now, there's something that I need to mention which is very important. Even at the dissolution of a marriage, the court grants you 2 stages.
Yeah.
Stage 1 is what they call decree nisi. Decree nisi is when they have dissolved the marriage, but you're given an opportunity of either 30 or 60 days and sometimes 90 days in the event you want to change your mind.
Okay.
Then after that, it's made absolute when you're now sure that there's no coming back. This is what we're given. But in those societies or in those regimes where you sign papers, once you sign those papers and they are filed back, it is done. Even if you want to come back together, you have to start afresh.
Okay. So when you say mutual consent is where you now sign a paper and that's it? It's done?
You sign a paper or you come in collusion. You say that, Mariam, I don't think this is working. We should just go our separate ways. Let us go to our attorneys or our legal representatives and then let us dissolve this marriage.
Okay.
That one is not allowed. In fact, as a third last line of your petition to dissolve a marriage, you have to declare that you have not agreed or connived with the other person so that you can dissolve the marriage. You have to, even if the two of you are in agreement that this is not working, you have to say that we have not agreed. Unfortunately.
Wow.
So the advocates who are also legislators who are trying to do away with this so that we don't have contentious dissolution of marriages. But the law does not allow this. It is actually solidified in the Act that you don't have to agree. It's mandatory that there has to be an aspect that you have not agreed to dissolve the marriage. Otherwise, the moral fiber of the society is gone.
We're looking at marriage and what it means to dissolve that marriage. When you feel like this is not working and now we need to go our separate ways, what do you need to do? Now, before you answer that,
yes,
are there instances where couples have filed for divorce and the court says there's not enough evidence to prove that there's conflict here?
Yes.
For us to say that you guys can now go separate ways.
Yes. I've handled a matter whereby one party wanted to get out of the marriage.
Yeah.
The other party felt like they're not ready to get out of the marriage. Not even one. I have handled several cases, but in one instance, we were successful to stop a dissolution of marriage. So it's possible for the court to tell you, no, you have not met the threshold. And that is what actually this case that we were discussing and the act that we were looking at that were proposed was trying to cure, so that you're not somewhere where you don't want to be. Because the moment you pour out your heart on documentation, say I want out, and you're told that you cannot get out,
so then I'm forced to stay with somebody
you have
that
to stay there.